Welcome to the Family Brand Show. We're Chris and Melissa Smith of FamilyBrand.com, husband and wife, parents of 5, and we want to help you take back your family and to live life on your terms.
And we know being a family can feel really overwhelming. Parents tell us they feel like they're being pulled in a million different directions. It's so challenging to navigate the uncertainty and all the chaos that's happening in the world right now.
And that's why we want to bring you every single week actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become a better parent, to become a better spouse, and to build a stronger family. And look, there's never been a better time and a more important time than right now to take back your family. You can define what your family stands for, or the world is going to do it for you. And the world needs strong families now more than ever. And it starts right here with your family. Okay, we're going to kick off a 2-part series. Have we done a whole lot of series on the podcast that build on each other? I want to say maybe like once or twice.
I remember a lot, like years ago, we did like family strengths, but I think we might have fizzled out halfway through. I never finished.
Well, this is the beginning of a 2-parter you're not going to want to miss. It's funny, Melissa and I have been having essentially the same conversation parallel to each other without even kind of doing it on purpose, meaning Melissa was asked by our church that we go to, the women's
group, yeah,
to come talk about living an intentional life.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened that the series that we were kicking off inside of my coaching company was on how to get really clear on a plan and a direction for your business. So it's like a lot of similarity. So today's going to be mostly about clarity. Next episode, I think Melissa's going to do a solo episode sharing what she shared with the women in our church about living an intentional life. And the reason I think this is so interesting is I would encourage all of you right now. I'm gonna do this exercise with Melissa. She doesn't know that she didn't know this was coming. I want all of you right now listening to think of a time in your life when you got really intentional about something. Could be something that you were somewhat intentional about, or you weren't intentional at all, but something happened that caused you to start becoming more intentional. Could be your health, a relationship, finances, your career, time with your children.
Which I think even before we go there, this is going to overlap into something I did with women's group, but let's even just define the word intentional. Like when you say, think of a time you were intentional, like what does that word even mean?
Yeah. What did you share with women? Like, I have an idea of what I think it means, but what'd you?
Yeah. Well, I asked women to share and there was like a lot of varied answers. I just feel like it's a word that we throw out there. And especially even in Family Brand, we say, it's for families. You want to be more intentional. But what does that word intentional mean? And by definition, I wish I had it with me, but I was not prepared for this moment. It means that you have like values and you have kind of goals and things you're working towards, and your life is like matching up in a way that you're working towards them. But you've established and you've gotten clear, like, what are my values? What are the things that I want? And then you begin backing into it.
Yeah. If you ask me right now, like, okay, define it, I would say it's living on purpose, or it's having an intention for how you're living, which is the root word of, intentional. Okay. Do you think of something? Any area of your life where this, like, you decided, I'm going to become intentional. I'm going to start living more on purpose. I'm going to start doing things that are in alignment with my values. But like,
I mean, yes, this is not like a big.
Yeah, it can be anything.
A big thing. It's kind of more of a fluffy thing, but I like living and being in beautiful spaces. And so I love, like, I've gotten this Better Homes and Gardens magazine for probably 15 years. And I don't know. I just love being intentional about the spaces that I'm in and how I'm designing them and what they're going to look like. And I could answer your question, but I think that's important to me. And I really have spent some time where I'm like researching like design and kind of some rules there and what that looks like. And I continue to be a student of it.
Okay. That's a great one. So you had this intention and started being more intentional about designing your space and designing a beautiful space.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting, and the thing I was trying to help everyone all of our clients see yesterday on a call, there's something that always precedes us starting to be intentional, and it's clarity. So the way I said it is, clarity is the gateway into intentionality. And if you think about it, you you really cannot be intentional about something you haven't spent time getting clear on first. Otherwise, it's just kind of like we're just running around. And you can be busy, but in order to be intentional, you're going to have to like get clear first. And here's the reality though. It's easier to not get clear. Not getting clear is the easier thing to do. Because think about it. It's like, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. It's like, I just keep doing what I'm already doing. It doesn't mean it's going to lead to a more fulfilling life. I don't think it leads to the life you want, but it's the easiest thing to do. It's the path of least resistance just to not get clear. And what it has us live though is, I love this quote by Neil A. Maxwell, a religious leader who I really respect. He's passed away, but he said that oftentimes we live the tumbleweed existence. And the way he defines the tumbleweed existence is going nowhere but anxiously. It's like, where are you going? I don't know. When are you going to get there? I don't know. Well, what's the plan? You just keep going. Like,
Put your head down.
yeah. And obviously life can feel like that in certain seasons of our lives, or even there's times in a day where I'm like, okay, for this period of the day, I was very intentional. For this period of the day, I was kind of like the tumbleweed. So clarity precedes intentionality. And so before I think we can even talk about living an intentional life, which again, that'll be the next episode, I think it's really useful to have a conversation about clarity. And I think it's useful to just confront this idea, the reality that clarity can be difficult. And like, but why? Like, why does getting clear often feel difficult? And why do we avoid it? And I asked our clients, there's probably 80 people on our call yesterday. And I threw this out there and some of the responses were great. One of the biggest responses is there's just enough noise and distractions to keep me just busy enough to not dedicate the time to get clear. So that could be one of the reasons why clarity sometimes feels difficult, is there's so many distractions. Then the biggest one though, that the most people shared and agreed with is, what if I'm afraid of the answer that I might get? Like, what if I get clear and I don't like the answer, or the answer causes me to have to do a lot of work or make a lot of sacrifices? And I love this quote that went along with that. I found this quote. It says, I don't know who, I tried to find out who came up with this, but we often avoid clarity, not because we can't find it, but because we're not ready for what it asks of us. And it's almost like, a lot of times I'm kind of like, I'd rather not look over there. If I don't look, it's not real. Like, but if I look and I get clear, there's going to be some things I'm probably going to have to confront. Like, man, maybe I'm going to have to make some sacrifices. Maybe I'm going to have to work harder. Maybe I have to like get more committed. And then a third reason that came up for a lot of people is, well, the reason I don't take the time to get clear is because I don't think it would be possible even if I did get clear. I don't feel like I'm worthy of achieving anything more than what I have. So why even spend the time? It's not going to happen. So it was either a lack of too much noise, I'm afraid of the answer, or I just don't feel worthy. But the conclusion we all came to on our call, and I think this is true, is all of us agreed the reasons for not getting clear are not as strong as the reasons for getting clear. Like, the reasons to get clear are so much better, but there are some legitimate reasons. I think it's just useful to realize that there are some reasons to not get clear. There's a pretty strong argument to be made, especially if your life is okay. Like, I think it's one thing if your life is like really like miserable or not what you want it to be, but if you're like, yeah, my life's pretty good, my marriage is pretty good, my health's pretty good, like, there's some pretty compelling reasons to just keep going down that path. I don't think they're as compelling though as the reasons for getting clear. I also love the quote, clarity requires courage. It's easier to pretend we're still figuring it. And I think 3 of the most dangerous words in the human language is, I don't know. Because the minute you say, I don't know, like, you're off the hook. Even around small things. Hey, where do you want to go out to eat tonight? It's just like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I don't know. Where do you want to go to college? I don't know. Like, what do you want to do for like a career, or like, or someone's like, oh, I really want to start a business. What kind of business? I don't know. I just think we've gotten really used to like letting ourselves off the hook. Because the opposite of I don't know is, well, I'm gonna have to lean in and do some work.
Yeah.
And figure this out and confront this.
Some like introspective work, which is,
oh man,
confronting.
Yeah.
I really like, it reminds me, the phrase that good is the enemy of great. And I think that is so true. I don't know if I have anything more to say about that other than that reminds me of what you were saying. it's just so interesting that we do get so comfortable just being, okay, just going through the motions, like that we sometimes fail to see that more is possible. There might be more there.
No, I think that's actually really good is the enemy of great. So it's like, that could be another thing that's actually maybe a fourth one. That why does clarity feel so difficult sometimes? Not only is there too much noise, not only are we afraid of the answer or we don't feel worthy, but also maybe life is just good enough to not like feel like we need to look. I was talking with a client this morning who was sharing with me that, at some point they're going to sell their business and they're already starting to think about and realize like, man, that might be kind of like, if I don't prepare for that, that could be really confronting. And you hear stories like this all the time of people they retire. And I mean, this is really sad, but like there's stories of like, especially in like public safety a lot, you hear these stories of like police officers who have been on the force or with the force for like 30, 40 years who will go to their retirement party, literally go get in their car and take their life.
Mm.
Like they don't have a purpose for living, or you hear stories all the time of people who retire then die not many, years later. And so this client of ours was sharing with me like, hey, I'm going to retire at some point. I'm going to sell my business. Like, I want to start getting ahead of that now. And I shared with him this idea of like, what if you looked at like your life up until now as like the 1.0 version of your life? And it's awesome. It's like, man, that's 1.0. Now I'm going to consciously create 2.0, but it's like a new creation. It's a new beginning. And 1.0 is actually the building blocks for 2.0. Because I was like, if you don't have a compelling enough vision that's pulling you forward, then the only thing you will have is to be stuck in your past. And he really liked that idea. And I just shared with him, I was like, yeah, even in mine and Melissa's evolution in our marriage, I think in our lives, most of listening to the podcast, the first several years of our marriage were really a challenge and a struggle for us as husband and wife, but also just, I think, in our individual lives. And I think when things really started to change for us, we had done a lot of work on ourselves individually. We had done a lot of personal development. And I would say one of the things that we did was we finally took the time, I think, to get clear on what we wanted versus just surviving. And it was the first time ever we started to maybe think about what could be possible and dream. And we actually created a vision board together and a list called our creation list. And we put a bunch of things on it. That historically, we were spending so much energy surviving and just living a good or miserable life that we didn't even, I think, have the capacity or think we could even think about something that could actually be possible. And there were some things we put on the creation list that at that time in our minds were probably like, this will never happen. It's impossible, but I'm at least throwing on here. There was also some things on there that I think we thought, okay, we could probably do this. And then we went to work. And one day we looked up years later and we were kind of like, whoa, we've accomplished almost everything on this list. And I wish the thing that we'd have done at that point is, all right, well, let's create another one. Not from a place of like, we need more, but just from a place of like, well, let's just continue to progress and learn and grow and develop together. But we didn't. And I don't think we consciously did this, but it was a little bit, I think, for us, like, oh, we did it. It wasn't like a check, like, don't need to do that ever again. I just think it was unintentional. And I think I remember us talking sometime later and be like, life's good, but like something's missing, because we were missing like that idea of like, we had some clarity of what we wanted. And to me, as meaningful and as fulfilling as it was to accomplish the things, it was actually as meaningful and fulfilling to like just have a vision together and be pursuing it. And then I think once we no longer had a creation list, we kind of felt like the void of that. And we weren't being as intentional simply because we weren't clear. And so we just decided to like, well, let's create another creation list. Yeah. I just think like, and I was sharing that with this client this morning, and they were like, yeah, I'm going to create a creation list of what it is I want for 2.0. And so I don't think today's anything about like how to live an intentional life, how to go get all that, but I think it really is useful to confront like, yeah, we will avoid getting clear. Like left to our own human nature, all of us, I think, will just kind of avoid it and just be like, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
One thing that's interesting too is when you're talking about a couple, I think it's also easy, especially when you're in the phase of life where there's so much going on, like, maybe you're raising a bunch of kids and they're either they're busy with activities or they're just little and they require a lot from you, it's sometimes easy to forget that you as husband and wife are like sharing this journey together, and you just kind of start living your own, like, I'm working towards these things, you're working towards those things, or division of labor, like, hey, you're handling the finances, I'm handling the house, or whatever it may be, however your division of labor looks like. And you like stop collaborating
Mm.
together and stop maybe verbalizing dreams. And it's like just like compartmentalizing, let's just get through this. But I think it really is important to have those like sharing those dreams together, having that creation list and making sure you're talking about that, not just getting so busy that you're living kind of your own separate versions of what you want the future to look like, but creating it together.
Yeah, and I think ideally it would actually, now that you're saying that, it probably would be in 3 areas. It's like, how clear am I individually on just like what's important to me? And I also think it's really interesting to think about it at this season of my life. To me, it feels really overwhelming to like, what's the clarity of your life vision for like the rest of your life? You know, I can have some ideas around that, but for me, it's easier to think of like, okay, at this season of my life, what's important to me? Like, I want to get clear on what's meaningful to me today. And then at this season of my life, what's important for Melissa and I together? What are we creating together? And then at this season, like what's important for our family? Because I think it would be easy to lose sight of any one of those, or let all of those get wrapped up in one. It's like, you know, we're so busy right now. I don't even have time to think about what I want, what we want. It's just, we're just surviving and pouring into our kids. But I think clarity is really worth that, like the struggle and the confrontation and the introspective work you have to do that is confronting. It's so worth it. It's like almost like you've heard the quote, everything you want lives outside your comfort zone. I would also argue that everything you want is just on the other side of getting clear. And I think the reason most of us don't get what we want in life is simply because we just don't take the time to get clear on what we want. And it sounds so obvious to say it like this, but it's like, we're all pretty much guaranteed to not get something that we haven't gotten clear on that we want. But I know there's been plenty of times in my life where I'm like, oh, I want my life to be better. I want my business to be better. I want my family to be whatever it is. And then it's like, okay, well, what do you want? It's like, I don't know. And it's almost like, well, those two things don't like, I can't say on one hand, I want my life to be better, but then I put no time or thought into and I also think that's an interesting thing. My default human nature is to actually I'll put all my energy and thought into what isn't working and what I don't want, which isn't useful. I just create more of that. It would be such a better use of my time to put my energy and effort into like, well, maybe I should spend some time getting clear on what I do want. And just by getting clear on what you want, I think it dramatically increases the odds that you might get it. And I know that sounds so simple and it's so obvious. It's like, oh yeah, of course. Like you hear that and you're like, why would any of us not? Like, yeah, we all just get clear on what we want. But again, I think it's useful to go back and recognize, but it's easier not to.
Do you have any homework? What's like something anyone listening that's like, if you're feeling like, ooh, you know, I could have more than 30, or maybe I once did, or, you know, don't now, whatever it may be.
Well, yeah, I don't know the full extent of what you're going to talk about, so I don't want to rob anything from your episode, and I don't think you can hear this too much.
Just rob it. Just go.
I would say that can feel very daunting, though. Like, okay, Chris and Melissa today talked about getting clear. That feels so big,
Yeah.
and that's how it feels for me. That's like lots of people have talked about the F's of life. And there's like 7 F's. I've heard it taught 9 F's. And there's 5 for me that like kind of capture, at least for me, that work. And it's faith, family, fitness, finances, and fun. And that seems doable to me. It's like, okay. And I don't need to create a list of like 3 to 5 in each of them, just one sentence for each of them. Okay, so at this season of my life, what is important to me as it relates to my faith? And I can spend some time and I can ponder that and I can really think about that and come up with one thing. And then at this season of my life, what's most important to me right now with my family? At this season of my life, what's most important to me around my fitness? At this season of my life, what's most important to me around my finances? And when I say finances, just that to me kind of covers like It's a broad topic. It doesn't just cover like my savings or budgeting or investing. It covers my business, my career. It's like the way I create money and save money and invest money. And that this is season of my life, what's important to me around fun. And I also think though, that if I have a little bit of clarity in each of those 5 categories, that would help me start to be more intentional about it, which Melissa will talk about in the next episode. But it's like, I'm probably going to live a pretty dang good life. If I have clarity about what's important to me at any season of my life, my faith, my family, my fitness, my finances, my fun, it's like, so I think that could be a useful, and if you want to make this even more simple, which I like simplicity, this is the same challenge and homework I gave all of our clients yesterday. Just pick the one F that you feel like you're being that you have the least clarity in right now. And just do that one. So it's like, out of faith, family, fitness, finances, and fun, which of those categories do you feel like you're the least clear on? Don't worry about it's not like which one are you doing the worst at? None of that. It's just like, which of those do you feel like you have the least amount of clarity on? Write that at the top of a piece of paper, and then literally just sit with yeah, what do I want in that area? Like, what's important to me at this season of my life? And here's what you don't have permission to do.
What?
You can't look at it and go, I don't know, and then just pass. Because that's the easy way out. You might look at it and go, I don't know, and I know the answer's inside of me somewhere. I'm going to wrestle with this. I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to pray. I'm going to ponder. I'm going to meditate, but I'm going to think about this until something strikes me. And it doesn't have to be profound. Just even the smallest amount of clarity will allow you to start moving towards it.
Okay, this is good stuff. I think this could shift your life. So take that to heart. Take that homework and tune in for the next episode in this little duo. We'll go deeper on living intentionally.
All right, so that is it for today's episode of the Family Brand Podcast.
But before you go, we have something fun for you.
Yeah, like if you've ever wondered, okay, so how's our family culture actually doing? We've got an incredible quiz for that.
Good news, it's quick, it's free, and when you're done with that quiz, we'll even email you this awesome PDF full of practical ways to strengthen your family culture right away.
So all you have to do is go to familybrand.com/quiz, take the quiz, grab the PDF.
We'll see you next time.